All right, beautiful. Thank you for joining me for a 60-minute restorative yoga class. My name is Holly. My pronouns are she, her. This is a floor-based class. It is very gentle. In some styles of yoga, we use the asanas and pranayamas, right? The breathing and the postures in order to stretch our body or strengthen or work on our balance. But in restorative yoga, we're going to use very gentle postures as well as some props like household blankets and pillows to relax. So keep in mind that the goal of this class is not necessarily to get like the deepest stretch of your life. The goal is to just relax and enjoy your own company and have some scheduled you time scheduled into your day. So we're going to start in a comfortable seated position. You can sit crisscross applesauce or in Sukhasana, easy pose with one foot in front of the other. You might rock back and forth a few times, or maybe even make some gentle circles with your body. Just starting to become aware of your body, aware of your breath, right? Feel your sit bones firmly rooted into the floor. You can sweep your arms up overhead if that feels good. Maybe just get some gentle motion into the spine, into the shoulders. Again, this is a pretty relaxed class. So at the beginning, right, if there's any kind of movements that feel good to your body that you'd like to do, you're welcome to do them now. Okay, great. And then find your way into a nice seated position with a tall spine, sitting up tall, looking forward. Great, and we're actually going to start with a relaxation technique called EFT, or emotional freedom technique. It's sometimes referred to as tapping. Some people think it's pseudoscience, other people find it very calming. The idea is we're going to tap out different meridians in our body, almost like acupuncture, that are meant to really calm the body and calm the central nervous system. And while you're tapping out different parts of your body, which I will walk you through, we're also going to say something to ourselves. So it's usually put as a, even though blank, I choose blank. So for example, even though I'm feeling really stressed out today, I choose to let the day go and feel safe in my body. Or gosh, even though I'm feeling really anxious, I choose to remember that it's okay to breathe. Or even though I'm really mad at my boss right now, I choose to let that person go, right? And just enjoy my yoga practice. So you can choose an even though blank, I choose blank statement. And if nothing else comes to mind, I'll share it, even though I'm feeling really overwhelmed, I choose to let the day go and be here now. So if nothing comes to mind, that's what I'll be sharing. Okay, so you're going to start with your hand. It doesn't matter which hand it is. I'm left-handed, so I'm going to tap with my left hand. And we start with what's called the karate chop meridian. So it's just below the finger. And you're going to start tapping it out there. And again, you can repeat in your head or out loud, whatever statement is speaking to you. I will repeat mine, which you're also welcome to use. Even though I am feeling overwhelmed, I choose to let the day go and be here now. Great, now we're going to move to our hairline, and it's a gentle tap. You're not like pushing or forcing your body in any way. Even though I'm feeling overwhelmed, I choose to let the day go and be here now. Great, moving to the inner eyebrows, just above the eyebrows. Repeating that statement. Now moving to the outer brows, the outer eyes, the temples. And again, you're not like pushing into your skin. It's like a very gentle, loving tap. Great, moving on to the under eye area, keep your shoulders relaxed. Even though I'm feeling overwhelmed, I choose to let the day go and be here now. Next, moving to the space between your nose and upper lip. So just above the lip, just above the nose. Now moving to below the lip, just above the chin. Repeating that statement to yourself, that affirmation. Next to your collarbones. Even though I am feeling overwhelmed, I choose to let the day go and be here now. And the last one, which is a little bit funny, is to your under armpit area, which if you're sweaty like me can be a little weird. Even though I'm feeling overwhelmed, I choose to let the day go and be here now. Great. Okay. And then you're just going to relax your arms down by your side. You can close your eyes for a moment and take a nice breath here. If it feels good, you can sigh it out through the mouth, just observing how your body feels. And throughout yoga, we're going to be an observer, but not a critic. So we're not being a critical observer, right? But we are noticing what's going on with our body, with our mind, with our heart. Not judging, just noticing. Let's do that tapping technique again. So starting with the karate chop side of one hand, doesn't matter which one. You're going to tap it out, saying that phrase that you've chosen, the even though blank, I choose statement. So again, if nothing comes to mind, I'll share mine. Even though I'm feeling overwhelmed, I choose to let the day go and be here now. Good. Next, moving to the hairline. Being gentle with your tapping, gentle with yourself. Just above the brows and between the brows. Moving to the temple, outer eye area. Next, gently tapping out the under eye area, not pushing or poking. Space below the nose, above the lip. Even though I'm feeling overwhelmed, I choose to let the day go and be here now. Space just above the chin, below the lip. Collarbone. Even though I'm feeling overwhelmed, I choose to let the day go and be here now. And last but not least, under armpit area, underarm area. Good, and then you're going to bring your arms down, relax your shoulders, close your eyes if it feels good. Again, just take a nice breath here, not forcing. If it feels good, sigh it out, let it go. Just observing how your body feels. Again, the premise behind EFT is we're tapping into different meridians in our body, kind of like acupressure, right? But you can do it to yourself, which is kind of handy. Okay, we're going to do it one more time, taking hand of your choice, and we're going to tap out the karate chop side. Even though I'm feeling overwhelmed, I choose to let the day go and be here now. Moving the hairline. Even though I'm feeling overwhelmed, I choose to let the day go and be here now. Moving to brows, inner brows. Temples, outer eyes. Even though I'm feeling overwhelmed, I choose to let the day go and be here now. Under eye area, being gentle. Space below the nose, above the lip. Even though I'm feeling overwhelmed, I choose to let the day go and be here now. Moving to the space below the bottom lip, above the chin. Keep the shoulders soft. Collarbones. Good, and underarm area. Even though I'm feeling overwhelmed, I choose to let the day go and be here now. Good, and as you're ready, take your arms down. Once again, take a breath. Let it go. Again, that's called EFT, or emotional freedom technique, or tapping. Some people really swear by it, and other people it doesn't speak to. My philosophy in general with anything in yoga is take what works for you and leave the rest, but give something a try, right? Because if we don't give something a try, then we never know if it works for us. But of course, if something ever really does not feel right for your body in this class, you are always welcome to skip a posture, to do something else, right? If you need to leave early, can do that. Within, the boundaries of a yoga practice, right? We'll set up boundaries like asana, pranayama. There's a lot of room for creativity, but at the same time, it should never be so stringent that we are not true to ourselves, right? You are your greatest teacher in this class. Okay, so we're going to start with a very supported child's pose. That's our first restorative yoga posture of the day. And, there's all different versions of child's poses, and some of them are really focused on like stretching out through the toes, the ankles, the knees, the hips. But in this one, it's more about just feeling grounded. So we're going to use some props so that the posture, the asana is a little less intense, but that feeling of groundedness and relaxation is a little bit more palatable. So if you'd like, you are welcome to place a pillow in between your calves and your hamstrings. And this is particularly useful for folks whose hips might not touch the floor in a child's pose. You're gonna have your big toes together and your knees a little bit apart. Doesn't need to be like the widest leg child's pose of all time, but you also don't need to have your knees perfectly together. From here, you're gonna walk your hands forward and you can grab a pillow or two for under your chest and or under your head. Just gonna blow my nose here. Excuse me. Okay. So from here, there's lots of options, right? The idea is your chest, your head, your hips are supported. Again, it doesn't need to be the deepest stretch in a child's pose of all time. It's just a very supported stretch. You are welcome to have your forehead on the pillows. Maybe you look right for half the asana and left for half the asana. You can also bend your arms, catch your elbows, and have your forehead kind of rest on your forearms. Or you can take your arms down by your side, so palms face up. So I'm giving lots of options, not to overwhelm you, but just to remember that like you have the power in this class, right? So you're in no way forcing your body into a position that doesn't feel good to it. Lots of options here. And we're just going to hold here for 5 minutes. In child's pose on the physical plane, right? We are stretching out the toes, the ankles, the knees, the thighs, the hips. We're lengthening through the lower back, middle back, upper back, all the way through the neck and shoulders. This is also a really beautiful posture to let the floor hold you up, to let the pillows support you, right? Particularly if you've been feeling a little bit untethered this week or ungrounded, child's pose is a wonderful option to really feel supported and connected to the ground. And sometimes we're so in our head, and humans, we're kind of tall, right? We're like 5 or 6 feet up in the air. So sometimes we're so in our head that we literally forget that our feet are on the ground. And when we bring more of our body onto the ground, we can reconnect to that part of our life or our existence, rather than the kind of highly theoretical in the clouds, right? We're very much in the here or now. If at any point the posture does not feel good to your body, you're welcome to add or remove props or blankets. You're welcome to take a break, right, and hop into a savasana. Again, there's some framework, right? I was talking with someone recently who's a yoga teacher and a painter, and they were like, with painting and with yoga, I found that some sort of structure is really helpful for creativity, right? Like he was talking about, having a canvas and having a certain paint palette, right? So there is some structure, but within that, right, the possibilities are endless. And that's true of yoga as well, right? We're making some sort of a child's pose shape here, but how exactly you want to express that child's pose is completely up to you, right? And we're going to hold here for 3 more minutes. I'll give us some time just to breathe and be still. If you do have your head tilted to one side, you might gently lift it and look to the other side so both sides of your neck get stretched out. About 2 minutes left. Notice where you might be holding on to some tension in your body. See if you can relax just a little deeper at the end of the posture. As you're ready, gently lift your head and slowly walk your hands in towards your shoulders. Take your time as you press yourself up. There's no rush here. You can stretch up tall at the top or do any counter stretches that feel good to your body. Take your time removing your pillows, placing them to one side. Then we're going to turn and lay on our back in Savasana. And as you release out of that posture, right, when you release from the lower body, you might feel a change in temperature to your feet. You might notice a shift of blood into the hips, the knees, or the feet. So we lie on our back here, right? Let your arms and legs come down, head on the floor. This is Savasana or corpse pose. If lying on the floor with your legs straight does not feel good to your lower back, you are welcome to place a small blanket or pillow underneath your lumbar lower spine if that feels good and supported. And or you can bend your knees, feet on the floor about hip width distance and let your knees rest together. And that will also take pressure off of the lower back. So sometimes this style of yoga, restorative and yin yoga, get conflated, and I switch them up every week. But as a reminder, yin yoga, which many of us practice together, is also, involves holding postures for long periods of time. But it is really about like deep stretch. It's about working into connective tissue and the tendons, ligaments, joints. And it's also a little bit about like working past discomfort, right? Sometimes in a yin yoga pose, we really start to feel it towards the end and we're called to just kind of like hold and breathe through that. In restorative yoga is much more about the like emotional, psychological, spiritual benefits of a yoga practice. So we might do similar postures as in yin,
But the goal is really to relax the mind just as much as it is to relax the body. So again, that's why we use maybe some more props and we don't push ourselves so hard. And in both styles of yoga, of course, you're always welcome to come out early or change your shape. But just notice the difference between occasionally moving, right? Because you need to adjust versus constantly moving because it's hard to sit still. And if you fidget, I am right there with you. I like to joke I'm a good yoga teacher because I'm bad at it. Stillness does not come easy to me, but that's why we practice, right? Yoga is a practice, not a perfect, it's a practice. And as we practice being still, as we practice allowing ourselves to be supported by the floor, by pillows, as we practice giving ourselves permission to relax, it becomes a little bit easier to bring this practice outside of our yoga class as well. Bend your knees if they're not already so that your feet rest on the floor. You can gently lift your feet off the floor and maybe give yourself a hug here, placing your hands on your shins. You can roll right and left and back and forth, rolling out your back. And then as you're ready, roll to the right. Put your hands on the floor and press yourself up. Great. Next, we're going to do a supported side body stretch, which we can flow into an optional spine twist. So you're going to sit facing forward, grab 1 or 2 or 3 pillows, and I'm going to teach this from the right side. So I am sitting with pillows to my right. So you're going to put 1 or 2 pillows to the right side of your body. Bend your legs and start to come onto your side. You can also place the pillow in between your knees here. And from here, you're going to start to come down lying on your side. I like to have my right arm underneath me, palm facing forward. So the idea here is you have 1 or 2 pillows for underneath your torso and 1 or 2 pillows for underneath your head. So there's a very gentle stretching to the left side body. From here, you have an option to have your left hand on the pillow or floor next to you, or for more of a shoulder stretch, you can take your left arm long overhead. And it might take a minute or 2 to figure out how many pillows you need and where you need them, right? So take your time finding a shape that feels good to you. Okay. And then we're just going to hang out. Again, that's kind of the theme of the class, is we just make a shape with our body and then relax into it. So if you practice 26 and 2 yoga with me, the first posture we do, right, is half moon pose, where we bend to the right, we compress one side of our body and stretch one side of our body. This is like a very supported, very relaxing version of that, right? We're gently stretching the left side body and gently compressing the right side body. So there's a subtle curve to the spine, but it's supported, right? We're letting gravity kind of relax the body. And we're using pillows so that it's never too intense of a stretch. I like to have a pillow in between my knees so that my hips can be nice and square rather than rotating inward. Of course, your posture can look different from mine, right? As we start to settle into the posture, notice where it's easy to relax and where you still might be forcing or fighting. And if you need to adjust your shape, you're welcome to. Or maybe from time to time, right, it can help just to remind your body, like we did at the beginning of class, right? Something like, I choose to let the day go. I choose to be here now. Or I know that I'm safe in my body. Sometimes, especially if we've been running around all day, it can be really jarring to all of a sudden just like stop and breathe and be still. And that can even set off some alarms in the body and in the brain that go, I don't know about this, right? So from time to time, especially as we enter into stillness, If you start to feel a little anxious or nervous, that's really normal. You can just thank your brain for all that it does for you and remind yourself that you are safe in this yoga container. And then you just return to your breath. Return to your stillness, relaxing a little deeper with every exhale. You have an option to stay here or take this into a very subtle spine and abdominal wall twist. So again, you can stay here, or if you'd like to change your shape, if your left arm is overhead, you're going to slowly slide your left hand outside of your left shoulder. If your right arm is underneath, you're going to push your left hand into the floor, gently lift up, take your right arm out to the right side of your body, left arm out to the left, and you're going to start to turn your torso down towards your pillows so that your hips stay stacked on top of one another, but your chest faces down. Depending on your mobility and body proportions, you can have your forehead on your pillow. You can look to the right away from your knees, so left ear comes towards your pillow, or I like to look in the same direction as my knees so that my right ear comes onto the pillow. If you look to the left, right, that's even more of a spine twist. For me, it's a little too much for my range of motion, but for some people, it feels really good. Again, our postures do not need to look the same. Try to keep your hips stacked. So very gentle spine twist and abdominal wall twist. Good for back mobility and good for digestion as well. Sometimes like in our culture, it's like bigger is better or more is more, right? And there's certain areas where that is true, but in yoga and especially in this style of yoga, less is often more. And the subtlety is where it gets really fun and really interesting, right? So it doesn't need to be the deepest spine twist of all time, right? It's just a very subtle twist that we're holding for a while. Again, notice where you might be holding on to some tension. Let it go, and if you need to adjust a little bit, do so. And then hop back into your stillness and breath. We'll hold here for one more minute. Start to bring your hands in underneath your shoulders. Press your hands into the floor, lift your chest, lift your head, and slowly press yourself up.
Great. And take a moment here at the top and maybe roll your shoulders forward a few times or backward a few times. Move your head. Just taking a moment of movement here amongst all the stillness. And we're going to go into the other side. You can simply turn and face the other way. I'm just going to adjust my pillows so that I'm not facing away from you because that feels a little bit weird, but you can just turn and face the other way. Okay, so again, finding your pillows to the left side of your body. And remember that this side might feel different. You're going to bend your knees. I'm going to place a pillow in between my knees. You don't need to if you don't want to. Stack your hips and knees. And then you're going to come onto your side. You can have your left arm underneath you, palm faces up. And then from here, you have an option to take your right arm overhead for that shoulder stretch, or have your right hand on the pillow close to your face. And also keep in mind, right, this side might necessitate a different shape in the posture, and that is totally okay. Sometimes on one side, right, it feels good to have my shoulder overhead, and on the other side, not so much, and that's all right too. Okay, and then once you've found that shape with your body, you're just going to settle in and breathe. You might observe any thoughts or feelings that are coming up, particularly if there's a pattern, right? If you keep looping back to the same thought, or if it's hard to get out of your head, or it's hard to be still. And again, we're being an observer, but not a critical observer. And this is also a practice, right? Sometimes we're really not self-aware in life. Sometimes we're hyper-aware, but we're also really cruel to ourselves. This is a space not only where we're practicing like breath and relaxation and support, but we're also practicing how to be aware without being critical or mean. And when we can practice being a compassionate observer of ourselves, it also becomes a little bit easier to be a compassionate observer to others, right? So we're not so cranky after class too. Again, this is a practice, not a perfect. You have an option to stay here or move this into a gentle spine twist and abdominal wall twist. If your right arm is overhead, you can slowly slide your right hand outside of right shoulder. If your left arm is under your body, you can push your right hand into the floor, sort of unthread that needle, take your left arm out to the left. Keep your hips and knees stacked and start to turn your abdomen down towards the floor. And again, you can have your head on the floor. You can look in the same direction as your knees, or for a full spine twist, you can look away from your knees right here on your pillow. Find a shape that works for you, and then just enjoy. Relaxing just a little deeper. 1 minute left. If you're ready, walk your hands in underneath your shoulders. Press your hands into the floor. Gently lift your chest and head. Press yourself up. Good. You can remove these pillows and blankets. Maybe save a pillow for under your head or under your back if that feels good. And then we're going to turn, lie on our back. And after being on our sides and maybe even our abdomens for a while, right, it might feel good or just interesting to lie on your back here, right? You might feel a shift in gravity, or maybe even like a little lightheaded for a moment as blood flow shifts around. I often find I feel more coming out of a posture than when I'm in the posture itself. This is just a place to be curious, or a time to be curious, just kind of observing what's going on in the body, in the heart, in the mind, and the spirit. Sometimes we feel a really big shift. Sometimes, again, it's very subtle, or nothing really at all. And these are all valid. Through yoga, we learn to validate whatever experience it is we're having, and without judgment or expectation, not assigning bad, but also not assigning good, right? Just noticing.
Next, we're going to do a very subtle hamstring stretch. If you have a wall nearby, you're welcome to do a legs up the wall where you kick your feet up the wall. Otherwise, we will use pillows and props. You can also kick your feet up a couch or a table if you have one nearby. For me, I'm going to show using pillows. So you're going to sit yourself up. I just realized I just kind of popped up not very mindfully, but you're welcome to roll off to one side mindfully and press yourself up. Okay, and you're going to stack as many pillows as you'd like, keeping in mind that depending on the firmness of your pillows, they might push down. You can also grab a blanket for underneath your body, and if you'd like a small pillow for underneath your head, a blanket for over your body and a pillow for underneath your head. You can do that. And then you're going to move your hips relatively near your pillow stack. Kick your feet up. Again, you can have a little pillow under your head here if you'd like. And then if you'd like a blanket for over your body, that just always feels luxurious and a little bit more calming. Okie doke. And then we're going to make our way into some stillness here. So the more pillows you have, or if your feet are up a wall, right, you might feel a little bit more of a stretch to the hamstrings. If you, like me, are opting for some pillows, just a few pillows, right? Just a very subtle lengthening through the backs of the legs. And with our spine continuing to stay on the floor, it's also a little lengthening through the lower back. Kicking your feet up can feel kind of subtle, but don't underestimate it. In this posture, right, we're getting a lot of blood flow to the core. It's a very calming posture. Also really good for anxiety. I share this every time I teach this posture, but I know someone who, struggles with panic attacks and talks about like one of the only things that works for them when they're going through that is this posture, right? And that's not to say that this posture is a substitute for seeking out help from a medical professional, right, or licensed professional, but yoga is a really wonderful tool, as well as seeking help. The same way that we go to a doctor for, a broken arm, we should also probably see a doctor for a broken heart. And yoga is a really beautiful tool, both for healing physical injuries, as well as, again, psychological, emotional, spiritual injuries. And often in some ways, these things can be kind of connected, right? I don't know if you've ever heard, there's a saying like the longest 6 inches you'll ever travel is the journey between your head and your heart. And I think yoga helps that journey be a little bit, makes it a little bit easier to walk that path, right? To connect the heart and the mind through the body and the breath. We're going to hold here for 5 more minutes. If you need to take a different shape with your body or do something a little different, you're welcome to. And then just make your way back into stillness and breath. Notice where your mind might be taking you. Give yourself permission just to relax. Remember that you're safe here. This is a time just for you to feel supported, feel held, and to remember that you are very worthy of rest inherently. And inhale, observe your body rise. Exhale, feel your body fall. There is no one way to get out of this posture. If your legs are up a wall or a chair, right, you can take them down a wall and lie on your back. If you, like me, have pillows underneath you, I kind of like to go the path of least resistance. So I'm just gonna lift my feet up towards the ceiling and rather unceremoniously kick my pillows to the side so that I don't have to get up. And then I'm gonna return my feet down to the floor. You're gonna lie back in your Savasana. I find there's moments of yoga that are so graceful and so beautiful. And then there's other moments where like you're kicking a pillow to one side or falling out of posture, you know. And I'm always charmed by those little not so graceful moments amidst all of the real like beauty and intention of the yoga practice. It's interesting as we were practicing that posture. I don't know if you could hear this, but my computer got really loud. Like, I don't know if it was overheating. It also occurred to me, maybe my computer is not loud. Maybe I just got really quiet. But I was reminded, right, of like my computer, I'm guessing got a little overheated and was like, I don't know, trying to figure out how to regulate, right? And so it was like huffing and puffing in order to regulate and calm down. And that's how we work too. Like sometimes we do get a little bit like worked up, of course, outside of yoga, but even in yoga too. And it's just our body doing its best to kind of even out. And that's okay, right? There's times where we need to hustle or where we, like a computer, are overheated and we need to like move around to adjust. But there's a difference both in computers and in humans, which were notably different. If my computer were constantly in a state of being that loud, I would probably take it to a doctor, right? And if my body is constantly in a state of like huffing and puffing and being kind of loud, that also might be a sign that something is amiss, right? From time to time, we do have to get loud or move around or, huff and puff a little bit in order to regulate. But if we're constantly living in a stressed out state where we can't sit still or be quiet, that might be a sign, right? To like, I don't know, look for some help, or, observe where you're spending your energy or your time or all of the above. Again, yoga is a beautiful tool. It's a powerful transformational tool, and it is not a substitute for going to the doctor for a broken arm or a broken heart, right? But we can do both, and hopefully a good doctor finds ways to help you, use a yoga practice or asana or pranayama or meditation practice on a healing journey. Okay, our last posture of the day. You're going to bend your knees if they're not already, roll off to one side, maybe the side you haven't rolled off to yet. Press yourself up. We're going to do a nice back bend here. So you're going to sit up and you're going to play around with some pillows. You're going to have 1 or 2 pillows directly behind you for underneath your middle and lower back, and then 1 or 2 pillows for your head. So the idea is that like your heart and your ribs will be the highest part of your body, but you do not want your head hanging all the way off, right? From here, for the lower body, well, first, you're going to lie back like so. So again, the chest is lifted, right? But your head is not hanging all the way off. From here, for the lower body, couple options. You can bend your knees so that your feet are on the floor and your knees rest together. If you'd like a hip opener as well, you can open your knees so that the soles of your feet come together into like a butterfly pose. And if you'd like to place pillows underneath your knees for support, you can do so. And you can also simply have your legs straight and flat on the floor. You are also welcome to put a blanket over your body if that feels good. Okay. So in this posture, we're healing the spine through compression. We're opening the front of the body, right? The subtle back bend, subtle heart opener. And there's all different types of back bends in yoga, and some of them are on our feet, on our knees, on our hands, on our shoulders. And this one where we're using props in the floor is so great because you don't have to really pay attention to like where you are in time and space, right? It's one of the few back bends where I could say, go ahead and close your eyes in the back bend and you won't get dizzy or, fall out. So let this be a place just to really release some tension from the front of the body. Heal the spine through compression. And also to remember that you're deeply supported here. You're not going anywhere. Excuse me. This is a time just to breathe and be still. Back bends can also be a nice invitation or opportunity to let go or to give something up that just feels a little heavy. So if that's speaking to you, right, this can be a time to let go or put something down. Maybe not forever, maybe just for now, or maybe, right, this is the start of a new chapter. Something's just weighing a little hard on you, right? This is an invitation to let go, simply to breathe. Notice where you might be holding on to tension. Give yourself permission to relax a little deeper. Inhale, feel your body rise. Exhale, observe the body relaxing. If your legs are straight or your knees are turned out to the side in a hip opener, you're slowly going to bring your knees up to the ceiling, feet on the floor. Again, there's no one way to come out of this. I will share the way that I like to come out of it. With your knees bent, you're going to press your heels on the floor, lift your hips, and remove one pillow at a time from under the lower back first. And then one pillow at a time from under the head. And if you'd like, you can keep a pillow for under your head, under your lower back, or under your feet if that feels good. You can keep the blanket over your body. I'm going to go into our final Savasana here. Especially as we come out of that back bend, again, you might notice some sort of nervous system change, like a temperature change, right? Or like an emotion bubbles up, or an energy comes out. Might be really intense, or it might be really subtle, or you might not feel anything at all. Just again, observing without being critical or judgmental, maybe just curious. Especially on days that feel a little overwhelming. We're reminded we don't have to make, good or silver linings out of hard things. But if we can just be a little bit curious about what comes next, right, in our yoga practice, in our body, in our life, we can just be a little bit curious, and things start to become a little bit more interesting, a little bit more light. And yoga doesn't fix everything, but it makes things a little bit more manageable. And when we give ourselves time to observe without criticism, we give ourselves time to practice that stillness, that breath, that compassion and self-care. It becomes easier to care for others, to become more compassionate for others, to really listen, not just to ourselves, but to others, and to be curious about what comes later today. This is a gift, a choice that you have given not just yourself, but your community as well, right? Self-care is community care. This is a choice that you have given yourself, a gift that you've given yourself, and no one can take that choice away from you. Thank you for practicing yoga this evening. You can stay in your final Savasana as long as you'd like, especially if you have time, make time, enjoy. When you do choose to get up, I do encourage you to get up very slowly, especially if you have low blood pressure. You want to sit up for a while before you stand up because we've been on the floor. And then just make sure that you're drinking lots of fluids throughout your evenings for kind of flushing out anything that kind of popped up in the body. Thank you all for joining. Hope to see you soon.